listening to Your Brain on Air. The program will begin shortly. Enjoy.
State ascoltando Your Brain on Air. Il programma inizierà a breve. Buon ascolto.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Your Brain on Air. I'm your host, Ollie Vogt-Larsen, and I want to start today off with a beautiful question. Ladies and gentlemen, are you a shoes on or off household? Let's make this very clear. I'm not having any of you monkeys at my house and allowing you to muck up the carpet with your Tims, your Yeezys, or your Birkenstocks, whatever the hell. You are going to take those bitches off. Either you're rocking socks or you're going natural the way God intended. I grew up, and I don't know whether or not this is upbringing or whatever, I grew up in a no shoes inside the household. That, listen, we weren't Asian, but we were a little European influenced. And I know that this, every single time I went to a friend's house as a child and I took my shoes off at the door, I'd watch them tromp around with their Skechers. I'd think, the hell are you doing? Your mom's going to have to clean that. I don't know if it was pure tidiness. I don't know if it's because we had a bit of third world influence, but my household as a child, the rule was the shoes come off. And I've taken that into my adult life. Listen, I'm not the type who's going to ask you to take the shoes off when you come into my house because I'm not an asshole. I'm not whatever about it. But you have to think about it this way. You're making me vacuum when I shouldn't have to. All right? And I've already been nice enough to let you into my home. So I'm just going to say, if you really want, I have some slippers. If you're feeling like Rock Hudson, if you're as gay as a $3 bill, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to be honest with you. That's a really nice, interesting question, and I think it says a lot about how people answer this, because I've noticed that it can tell you a lot about how they grew up. It can tell you about, it can tell you a very many things. You know what I mean? How much parental influence they had around their lives. You know what I mean? If the parents were not very strict and they just sort of let you do whatever you wanted, they tended to be a shoes-on household. If you were a little more by the book in certain regards, if your parents were a little more concerned with how things appeared, how were you dressed, did you shower, you know what I mean, basic, sort of hygiene things, it's a take the shoes off mentality. Maybe that's just a cultural thing, maybe it's something that I think too much about, but ladies and gentlemen, it's something that racks my mind, and it's something that I wanted to share with you today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling like $1,000,000. I got a blast of weed to take down the anxiety. Una taza de café to put it right back on. I feel 24/7, ladies and gentlemen. I am walking on sunshine. Call me Katrina and the waves, because I used to think maybe you love me. Now, baby, I'm sure I'm doing 30 times better than those in Southeast Asia. We are really crunking their junk with the Strait of Hormuz situation. Kids are sleeping in the cold. Mothers are choosing which of their children they're going to feed, and you and I are here to giggle at that. So, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I had to have a sip of coffee, pop a perk, rip the bong, slam that beer in the parking lot of your work. You're going to have a blast today, and you're going to give it all you got, ladies and gentlemen, with knowledge, peace of mind, and with gusto, ladies and gentlemen. Get your shoes on unless you're in the house. It's time to feel good. Let's talk about some starving, slit-eyed homies, ladies and gentlemen. Southeast Asia. Let's jump on over to our neighbors, because quite frankly, we got to get a little worldly, because this war it's not just affecting the pocketbooks, god damn it, whatever. It's not just affecting you at home. Your grocery prices at Aldi's aren't going to be just rising because of this. Southeast Asians are deciding whether or not they're going to feed their children. The energy landscape of Southeast Asia. So they're shifting into what they love to call the emergency triage this week. If you don't know, crunking their junk is one way to say it. One other way to say it is we are royally fucking over the Southeast Asian world. If you don't know, the ongoing closure of the Strait of Hormuz, we've been covering it for a while. It's giving struggle to a lot of the world's empires, regardless of how much power they have, especially if they're in the East or if they're in Asia. It's severing the region's primary fuel artery, with nearly 80% of Asia's oil and gas imports typically flowing through that now blocked waterway. That's not good. Nations like Thailand, Vietnam, and the Philippines are moving into what locals are calling power save mode, like they're on a goddamn phone. In Bangkok, the silliest name for a city I've ever heard in my life. Bang and cock? What are we doing, guys? The Prime Minister has ordered the government officials to ditch their jackets, take the stairs instead of elevators, and to set the air conditioning no lower than 27 degrees Celsius. What is that? 27 Celsius to F. That's 80.6 degrees Fahrenheit. What the fuck are we doing? The belt tightening has even reached the ancient capital of okay. Google, help me out. Ayutthaya. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Ayutthaya, where the city's famous work elephants are now being marched 5 kilometers to their sites because fuel rationing means they can no longer be transported by truck. They're being marched. This is old school. The disruption is moving far beyond simple price hikes with them. In America, I love that the most we ever have to gripe about is gas prices. You know what I mean? Maybe grocery prices. I know that most of us, admittedly, are not living on the poverty line. We're living paycheck to paycheck. You know what I mean? Whether or not you consider that to be the poverty line, well, it's just sort of daily life at this point. You know what I mean? If you live paycheck to paycheck, you're actually kind of an average American. But the Philippines, they have officially declared a national energy emergency. And thank God we're not here yet. You're not here yet unless Aldi's is being raided, unless your children are coming home with bruises because they're like, I had to fight for my lunch today. They're shifting government offices to a mandatory 4-day work week. How nice for them to slash fuel consumption by a fifth. Meanwhile, Vietnam, which remains one of the thinnest energy buffers in the region with less than 20 days of reserves, has urged all non-essential staff to work from home to preserve the dwindling stocks of gasoline and diesel. The feedstock famine, what is that, is also hitting the industrial sector hard. Major petrochemicals plants in Thailand have been forced to suspend all operations entirely as the supply of raw minerals like naphtha, N-A-P-H-T-H-A, I'm not great at pronunciations, guys, and propane have dried up. Damn, that sucks to be them. All to keep their economies from stalling, much like, an old car. Southeast Asian leaders are scrambling for a desperate short-term workaround. Indonesia, rapidly accelerating its B50 program, aggressively blending palm oil with conventional diesel to stretch its domestic supplies. Oh, that sounds smart. I love when countries, they do the one family, you know what I mean? Like black families, you'll go over and they're like, we got a little bit of milk left, just put some water in it. And it's like, milk is $5 at you can go down the road. And I know that sounds expensive. I know that it's like whatever, but no one's entitled to fresh milk. No one's entitled to pasteurized milk. You know what I mean? If you want it so badly, get a goddamn cow. Thailand has issued a total ban on fuel exports to neighboring countries, even as the International Energy Agency releases a record 400 million barrels from the global reserves. Experts are warning that these band-aids are on a broken limb. So long as the strait is remaining effectively closed, it's not going to be doing much to fix the underlying issues. For millions of commuters and small business owners across the region, the Asian century is currently being tested by the 21-mile choke point hold, and it has turned a simple act of keeping the lights on into a daily struggle for survival for many. Let's get a little bit of footage outside of this, because I don't feel as though it's being communicated how dire it is for many people. Just me reading these words out to you. I want suffering. I want you guys to view it. I want you guys to understand it. I understand that I can't put it on the screen and you can't see it, but if you go in the description, then I can torment you. But otherwise, here's a little bit from ABC News.
So said today they have around 45 days of fuel left based at normal consumption levels. So across the region, governments are telling people the same thing. Use less now to avoid a real crisis later, as the war in the Middle East threatens key oil supplies. With tankers wary of sailing through the Strait of Hormuz and prices jumping around as a result, officials are trying to get ahead of any shortage before it hits. In Thailand, you can even see it on morning TV. Here, anchors are taking their jackets off after the government urged its employees to dress lighter, turn up the aircon, and cut back on power at work.
Oof.
The Prime Minister also telling ministries to slash electricity use, limit overseas trips, and expand work from home, all part of an effort to bring demand down while the fuel is still flowing.
What I love about Southeast Asian countries, I just love it. One of my favorite things is that, I described this in an episode previously. the open bed trucks that are filled with like, plastic water bottles or whatever, those gallon jugs that you buy at the gas station or the grocery store. They don't have jerry rigs, not jerry rigs, jerry cans. They don't have those. They don't have the red, iconic gasoline jug. They're called jerry cans, but whatever. They don't have those more often than not. So you see them, they'll take the petrol, they'll put it into like a normal Casey's water bottle. It's obviously not a Casey's, it's a Buraji or some shit. And then they fill it up, get a full gallon, and then they will just cap it, and then they'll just put it in the back. I love how, live with what you have these countries are. It's very, we send them our garbage. I think I can see a Walmart container in the back there. This is just interesting.
In Vietnam, long gas lines amid sharp price hikes, authorities also encouraging work from home to conserve energy. And in Myanmar, the new even odd driving rule, license plates numbers determining who can drive and fill up to prevent panic buying. Is it the impacts already, or is it just kind of the
I think she's asking the wrong question here. I didn't mean to interrupt her. Whatever. But I think the question is wrong here. I don't think the question is like, is this pre anything? Obviously, we're setting the stage for something bigger. We're not at the point where it's you pull up to the pump and they don't have anything to sell you. It's that they need to restrict how much they sell you. It's every week from now on I think that's exactly what he says, is that every week from here on out until we have a peace plan, until we have something to open up the strait, it's eventually some countries are going to be to the point where you pull up to the gas tank and they're just going to go leave.
Kind of the pre-pain period.
So at this point, the actual disruptions are still manageable. The fear is that with every week that the Strait of Hormuz remains closed, we're getting closer to a point where the actual availability is no longer there, where actual shortages are starting to bite.
There you go.
Frederick is the chief Asia economist for HSBC, the global banking giant.
And why is Asia particularly vulnerable?
Well, Asia really imports the majority of its energy from the Middle East. So the direct impact is really on economies from India to Southeast Asia, all the way to China, Korea, and Japan.
This region, built on energy-hungry factories and exports, is especially vulnerable when oil prices jump, which could mean higher inflation and strained supply chains, especially in major hubs.
Here at one of Hong Kong's major shipping ports, it's also feeling exposed by the disruption. It means higher costs for cargo, which could ultimately hit businesses and drive up the price of goods all over the world.
What are you going to do?
The world's factory floor. Electronics, cars, clothes, toys, all those exports need cheap, steady fuel to keep factories humming and ships sailing. Disrupt the oil and the whole machine slows down.
Well, yeah. All right. Well, thank God, ladies and gentlemen, that the exalted leader, Donald J. Trump, he has announced, thank God, he's here to save us all. The United States has sent Iran, not Ron, who the fuck is Ron? A 15-point plan to end the war, delivered via Pakistan, sources say. Let's cover this straight out of ABC News.
Overnight, more missiles from Iran falling from the night sky over Israel as new details emerge about potential peace talks with Iran.
They're talking to us and they're talking sense.
Sources say the Trump administration has sent Iran a 15-point peace plan addressing Iran's ballistic missile and nuclear programs and maritime routes like the Strait of Hormuz. Pakistan delivered the plan on behalf of the United States. It's unclear which Iranian officials may have received it. Mediators are said to be pushing for a meeting soon. But
are there any left to receive it?
Wall Street Journal reports Iran has its own demands, including no limits on its missile program and the closure of all American bases in the Gulf. A U.S. official calling those demands unrealistic. The White House saying,
I have a great idea. Why don't we just, just level it? I'm just saying that they've been, nothing but a problem child for the majority of the time that we've been trying to work something out with them. Why not just, you find every civilian... We have enough missiles to do it. We realistically have enough to just, level it. No man, woman, or child, all just like, regardless. Because apparently, what they managed to do with their leadership over there is hot potato it. If you blow up a leader, then they'll somehow toss it down the line, and eventually it'll find its way into the hands of a 9-year-old. And that, you know what I mean? This is the argument you're going to hear directly from Benjamin Netanyahu. Why don't we just, like, level it out? Restart. Tehran can become like this brand new capital of industry, but we can do like a Vegas thing with it. It's right in the middle of the desert. We can do like this thing where we build like big casinos and stuff. That I'm just gonna say, guys, do any of you want to speak Persian? Are any of you interested in the language itself? What do any of you understand about the culture? What is the issue with one culture, just one, disappearing off the map in like one night of firestorms? What's the issue with disappearing an entire nation? I'd love for you to, in the comments, to debate that out, or to like give me a reason as to why that would be a bad idea. Just like end it. Just like end the issue. Because it's obvious that they are going to either ISIS themselves. You know, when we killed the leadership in Afghanistan, eventually we found literally the Obama administration created ISIS out of this. Because once you topple a leader, you create a power vacuum, and eventually who fills that vacuum? Generally somebody that you didn't plan on filling it. Because power is not taken by those that it's left to. It is assumed by the ones who will seize it, ladies and gentlemen. Let's at least just sit on my idea, because I'm just going to say it's probably not the worst one that the United States has proposed so far.
As President Trump and his negotiators explore this newfound possibility of diplomacy, Operation Epic Fury continues unabated. And now more U.S. troops are preparing to deploy to the region. Up to 1,500 troops from the 82nd Airborne, in addition to 4,500 Marines and sailors arriving in the region this week. The president has said he does not plan to put boots on the ground in Iran, but the soldiers of the 82nd are trained to parachute behind enemy lines. They could be used to secure oil or nuclear facilities.
They could actually parachute in directly onto Khark, and then from that they could secure some of these areas, and then the Marines would still be able to use, whether it's their Ospreys or some of these other, to be able to do some type of vertical attack.
Meanwhile,
you know what you do if you're an Iranian and you just see a bunch of our Marines parachuting down and to take over your city? You know, put one of those high beams. If it's in the middle of the night, put one of those high beams on them, and then just take an AK-47 and blow a bunch of holes through their parachutes. Like in the episode of Community where it's the G.I. Joe one, and he kills the leader of Cobra or something like that. Jeff, he's like, fuck it, I'm not gonna let this guy get away, and then he just, and it's over. And then, the United States will have a candle ceremony for the group of them. Maybe you take out like 20, because they fall like angels. You know what I mean? Once you take out the parachute, there's nothing to stop the fall or whatever. I shouldn't be joking like this. I had a family relative who was airborne in the military. But what I'm trying to say is that it's actually like a bad strategy. Like, if you think about it realistically, where are you more exposed and uncovered by anything? The sky, dipshit. Like, what are we doing? I'm just going to be honest with you. Strategy-wise, airborne assaults have never made that much sense to me, because your enemy can just blow shit in the sky and you're dead. I never understood that approach. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Israeli security officials say they need a few more weeks to accomplish their war objectives in Iran. Israel is also moving to seize a large section of southern Lebanon in its fight against Iranian-backed Hezbollah fighters. The area described by Israel as a security zone amounts to about 10% of Lebanon's territory.
And as both sides exchange airstrikes across the Middle East, there's another complication: the weather. A major storm is taking aim at the region with flooding, rain, and possible tornadoes.
Well, we don't have time to cover that. Possible tornadoes. I thought tornadoes only happened in the United States because of our government controlling the weather. Ladies and gentlemen, it's weird. Isn't it weird that we're just doing this? I mean, when's the last time you had a conversation with anybody who was standing by this war? It's very Vietnam. However, we haven't lost nearly as much yet. We didn't even have a great Gulf of Tonkin parallel this time. It was just that Israel said we're willing to go nuclear if you don't take care of the problem for us. It was an ultimate cuckery behavior, and I love it. I love that my country engages in it, and it's fun. It's fun because what else are we supposed to giggle at? Why don't we giggle at this, ladies and gentlemen, our second story. We are going to go ahead and we're going to move on to the next one. Jury is finding Meta. Meta, the company that was originally known as Facebook Industries, liable. They are finding them liable for child safety. And they are being ordered to pay a significant amount, ladies and gentlemen. Let's cover my favorite gentleman, Mark Zuckerberg, and his latest exploit, as we're going to call it. Unfortunately, it didn't work out too well for him. Go. Ooh, a New Mexico jury, a watershed verdict has been issued by them against Meta Platforms. That's what they're called? I thought it was just Meta. They're having some trouble in a New Mexico court as a jury delivered a watershed verdict against them on Tuesday, marking the first time a jury has ever held a social media giant liable for child safety failures on its platforms. Oh, this is not good for him. Why don't you go after Roblox? You know what I mean? Leave Facebook alone. After a 6-week trial in Santa Fe, jurors ordered the parent company of Facebook and Instagram to pay $375 million in civil penalties for violating the state's Unfair Practices Act. Well, I'm just going to be honest with you. How can you charge him with violating your state's act when you are the ones who give him permission to operate in your state? Like, what? Okay, wait a minute. Lawsuit brought by Attorney General Raul Torres, because it's 2 R's, accused Meta of knowingly misleading the parents about platform safety, while internal documents showed executives were well aware that their algorithms were connecting predators with minors. Uh-oh, what are you talking about? They knew? The state's case was bolstered by a 2023 undercover sting operation, where investigators posed as a child under the age of 14. These children, posed as children, there were multiple accounts. Under the age of 14, these child accounts were almost immediately flooded with sexually explicit content and solicitations, leading to several real-world arrests of individuals attempting to meet minors. Oh my God. Prosecutors argued that Meta's sophisticated recommendation engines, the same ones used to sell ads, do all the other stuff, give you the Instagram reels that say the N-word, they were being used by predators as market-leading tools for exploitation. Oh my God. While Meta's legal team argued that they are shielded by federal free speech laws, the jury ultimately found the company committed 75,000 individual violations, awarding the maximum penalty of $5,000 for each one. In a statement following the verdict, Attorney General Torres called the decision a historic victory, stating that Meta's executives prioritized profits over kids' safety. Get used to it, loser. If you don't like it, ban Instagram in your state. See how well that goes for you. Meta has already announced that they have an intent to appeal, maintaining that they are working tirelessly to remove harmful content. Please don't. That's literally what your platform is designed for. It is racist memes, quite frankly, harmful material. I open Instagram Reels, I want to see someone get crushed by a cement truck. I don't want to see, the silly dog, you know what I mean, eating pancakes, because it just makes me sad because I think about the fact that that dog is going to die one day. I can't watch silly animal videos because they make me very sad. I can't watch like a dog being well fed. I can't watch anything like that because it makes me very sad that dog, it's getting taken care of now and it's very happy now, but one day it's going to die. I don't know why I'm like this. I can't. Ladies and gentlemen, I would rather open my Instagram and rather than seeing something cute and small that I know is eventually going to meet death one day, rather than that, I'd rather see some fella working in a car shop where he's fixing something underneath it and you just watch that the thing holding the car up breaks and it falls. I'd rather watch that, ladies and gentlemen, than have to watch a dog eating like Greek yogurt pancakes, because the Greek yogurt pancake dog will make me sad. Watching just some guy, people die every day. For some odd reason, when animals die, it's not even an animal dying, it's an animal having a good day. You know what I mean? For some reason, just seeing animals, it makes me sad. It makes me sad that that people take such good care of them, but then they die anyways. Whatever, ladies and gentlemen, you understand my nuance, my point. Let's get ABC News on the hook.
In a landmark verdict, a jury in New Mexico has found Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, liable for endangering children and misleading users about the safety of its platforms.
This is the first time in American history that a state-led action has been able to hold a big tech company accountable for the harms that they've created and allowed to grow on their platforms.
How stupid. Meta's, like their offices, the address is One Hacker Way. What the hell?
New Mexico accused Meta of failing to protect minors from abuse. Prosecutors were seeking $2 billion in damages, but the jury ordered the company to pay just $375 million.
I don't believe they're doing these things to intentionally harm children and like they want that to happen, but I really do think they could be doing more.
Prosecutors presented internal documents claiming the company knew features on its apps could lead to child exploitation, claiming the company ignored the dangers. Meta's lawyers pushing back.
Meta isn't hiding anything about the risks of the platforms. It discloses them everywhere.
CEO Mark Zuckerberg saying the company cannot stop all bad actors.
The unfortunate reality is that some very small percent of them are going to be criminals, and we should work as hard as we can to stop that activity from happening.
Meta says it will appeal the verdict, saying, "We work hard to keep people safe on our platforms and are clear about the challenges of identifying and removing bad actors or harmful content." The judge, in a later second phase of the trial, will decide whether to force Meta to change its platforms. There's a separate trial in Los Angeles where a jury has spent more than a week deliberating whether Meta and YouTube are responsible for a young woman's alleged addiction to social media.
No. Any situation where you are choosing to go on the phone, are choosing to not delete the app, that's you. You are seemingly, this from what I'm hearing from this verdict, the woman's an adult. You're over the age of 18. And if you're younger than that, you should have a parent that's telling you no. And if you don't, well, that's your parents' fault. You cannot blame a lot of these sorts of, it's like blaming alcohol. It's like going, Sam Adams, you bastard, you're making beer that tastes too damn good. You make it taste weedier. Then my kid won't want to take a swig of it. And it's like, maybe it's up to you to, instead of putting your beer behind you when you're playing cards so your kid has access to it, maybe instead you should have it right on the table, right in front of you, so you always know where that beer is. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're anybody, if you're a person, if you're a living human being, you remember sneaking swigs off of your parents' beers. That's just how it is, ladies and gentlemen. And do we blame the beer company? Do we blame the beer company, or do we blame the parents for allowing you to have access to it? That is just how we have to look at it realistically, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just trying to be honest with you. I don't think they're going to have to pay this out. Honestly, if I was the judge, I would have went, this is the parents' fault. Nope, I'm sorry. Yeah, whether or not you have pedophiles on your platform and whatnot, your parents should be looking into what platforms their kids have profiles on. Is that a ridiculous rule to have or to follow, ladies and gentlemen?
This morning, a massive verdict against tech giant Meta. Jurors in New Mexico ordering the owner of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp to pay $375 million in damages for failing to warn users about the dangers of its platforms.
What do you mean failing to warn users about the dangers of its platforms? It's a platform. You need to understand that you could be getting into a situation, especially if you are above the age of 18 and you have children. You should know better than to hand a phone to your kid and say, get whatever you'd like.
In a civil case brought by the state's attorney general.
It should be a clear signal to everyone in this space and to Mr. Zuckerberg in particular.
Mr.
That enough is
Zuckerberg.
enough. It's time to change the way they do business.
The 6-week trial revealing internal company documents, as well as deposition testimony from Meta's CEO, Mark Zuckerberg himself.
So we need to constantly be vigilant and improve our systems in order to be able to identify the bad actors and bad content on our systems.
An effort some jurors speaking to our team outside the courthouse say they took into consideration.
Meta proved to us that they really do care about kids and work hard.
Other jurors appearing unpersuaded.
They're not out to do evil in that way. I don't think they're doing it on purpose, but they are aware of what's going on.
Oh my God. Can you imagine having to serve on a jury with this woman? I'm so sorry. Once you see the tattoos, once you see the, hair up in a ponytail, once you see the nose and lip ring combo and the gauged ears, I'm so sorry. I know that this is a world we live in where people dress up like fucking, punk album covers, and whatnot. I understand that. People can present themselves however they'd like. But, this woman had to go, I'm serving on a jury, and I'm going to show up in a black tank top. So it shows off my stripped out, my tatted up arms and whatnot, my shitty nose rings, my gross dyed hair. You know what? Look at that. You can see the ends of it where her roots don't even match. I'm not trying to queer eye the straight guy or whatever. I'm not trying to give her fashion advice. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to give our society a little bit of a wake-up call that if you want to be taken seriously by fellow adults, this woman's an adult. She looks 20s or 30s. You know what I'm speaking about? If you are not able to present yourself in a respectable way, if you show up, in the I hate my parents fucking fit. I like the black stuff, and I like tattoos, and I like hard stuff. You're kind of a faggot. You're kind of a queer, and everybody views you as that way. And queer, and not in the sense where we're making fun of you because you're gay. You're queer as in weird. You're a weird person, and everybody is looking at you in a certain manner. And she seems the most spaced out. I bet she's been hitting the cart in the bathroom every single time she's like, I gotta go real quick. I have a small bladder. And really, she's just like ripping carts in the bathroom.
And they know the extent of it, and they really do need to fix it.
What exactly it takes to fix it, now up to the court. The company vowing to appeal the jury's verdict, saying in a statement, "We remain confident in our record of protecting teens online." The case in New Mexico, the first of its kind, as Meta now faces a tidal wave of legal pressure over the safety of its most popular platforms. In another major case, the jury's still out. Deliberations in Los Angeles now stretching into a 9th day, as the jury there weighs whether Meta and YouTube deliberately made their platforms addictive to kids.
So Meta was hit with $375 million in damages here, guys, but they could be on the hook for even more when all is said and done. The judge is now set to hold a hearing in May to determine what additional penalties might apply here and what are some of the structural changes this company has to make. Do they have to slap a warning label on like a pack of cigarettes? That's what he's going to have to decide.
And then there'll be, of course, the appeal, and so this is going to take some time to play out.
All right.
I love how we are so mentally weak as a society, as a people, that we are treating this like cigarettes. We're treating social media like cigarettes. We're treating food like cigarettes, where we're giving people medication to get off of them. Does anybody understand exactly the comparison I'm trying to draw? Is that, for some odd reason, we have to have credit card laws. Do you know what I'm talking about? Predatory credit card laws. You're an adult and you need to be fucking looked after because for some odd reason, predatory lending schemes are able to get over your dumbass head. You are above the age of 18. You should know. If you have a credit card or multiple credit cards above the age of 18, the fuck are you doing? You're not actively building credit. Most of you are just doing it so that you can spend the absolute limit. You have no intents on paying it back. And by the way, I've met many people who get credit cards and their parents have told them, just spend it. Just spend it. This is not rare. This is not rare, and it is common behavior in this country, and you wonder why we're so deeply in debt. Because for some odd reason, people think that going to lenders, you know what I mean? They didn't learn this I'm not even a Bible thumper, and I'm going usury, lending money and whatnot in the Bible. You should know that this is evil. You should know that this is something you should be avoiding. Everybody kind of knows that. Lending money at unreasonable high rates, that's exactly what most of these credit card companies do. Joe Biden spent the majority of his career in the Senate defending them for credit card companies in Delaware. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm all in favor for remembering people for who they were. And Joe Biden, he's a gentle fella, you know what I mean? But when it comes to this train riding, common man image and whatnot, it hasn't always been the case. I'm sorry your daughter and your wife died. It's very sad, very unfortunate. Thank you, though, for, showing up, doing something. That was like a fever dream. The Biden era was like a fever dream. Because we're right back where we started. We're back in a second Trump administration. It's almost as though 2020 didn't even happen. The last 4 years feel like they didn't even happen. The Dubai chocolate, the matcha, all of the Labubu dolls, the 6'7", 5 big booms, everything doesn't feel real anymore. Nothing feels substantial. I feel like everything that we've gone through in the last few years was nothing. I don't understand it. And if anybody else feels this way, I'd love if you would make it clear. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to waste any further time. I'm just going to get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. We have the rapid fire section of today's headlines. Lots of stuff that we need to cover that, we can't dedicate 4 to 5 paragraphs to not every story, ladies and gentlemen. Not everything is that important, but we're going to talk about things that do matter to me at the very least, ladies and gentlemen, like why, for example, have they spent over $1 billion on violence prevention in Chicago? This is a state-funded violence interrupter situation. $1 billion is how much taxpayer and philanthropist money that has been spent from Chicagoans' booming anti-gang violence sector over the past decade. There's just a few problems. Dozens of state-funded workers have been arrested, and the money isn't going where it's supposed to, according to the latest out of this investigation. Pass it on to Olivia Rodriguez, ladies and gentlemen.
I first became interested in these programs, known as Community Violence Intervention, or CVI, when
I've heard of CVIs, Community Violence Intervention. These programs have their issues, let's put it that way. Let's just go.
This. In September, the governor of Illinois,
J.B. Pritzker,
who has his eyes on the White House in 2028, held a meeting with some peacekeepers. The Peacekeepers is a program in which locals, many of them former gang members, are paid to mediate gang disputes and stop violence before it starts. The model was pioneered in part by Chicago Cred, a nonprofit founded in 2016 by Laureen Powell Jobs, the billionaire widow of
Steve Jobs. That's a curious poll. Very interesting.
Steve Jobs and Arnie Duncan, the former education secretary under President Obama. Between 2017 and 2023, funding for community violence intervention programs in Chicago grew more than 15 times faster than the police department's budget. The rise of these programs is tied to a broader shift in how some cities have approached crime over the past decade.
What I like about the new approach to crime we've taken post George Floyd, I love that we can just refer to, it's like PG should be a brand new delineator for time periods. You know what I mean? We are currently in 6 PG post George Floyd, and I think that it was a snapshot moment. It was definitely one where Americans cricked their heads back and they were like, shit. Well, what does modern policing look like? And certain cities, they dismantled the police force, made all of them reapply for their jobs, and admittedly, maybe some of that had a little bit of benefits because you got to re-examine the backgrounds of some of these individuals. You got to go, Also, though, some places just decided to stop sending the cops to help you. Minneapolis, for example, they cut off certain neighborhoods where certain entire neighborhoods were just having no police response at a certain point because communities apparently can hold themselves together and don't need a peacekeeping force because apparently the peacekeeping force isn't there for peace, it's to keep the black man down.
23. Funding for community violence intervention programs in Chicago grew more than 15 times faster than the police department's budget.
Because screw the pigs, I guess.
Is tied to a broader shift in how some cities have approached crime over the past decade. In places like LA, New York, and
approached it, they've barely walked near it.
Chicago, some progressive politicians have pushed to move certain public safety roles away from the police and into the hands of community groups.
Mental health providers is one of my favorite ones. So essentially, if someone is tripping out in your front yard, for example, and you're calling for dispatch, you're like, I need someone to come and get this guy out of my front yard. They're going to tell you, well, is he being violent? And you're going to go, well, not yet. You know what I mean? He hasn't done anything yet. And they're going to hear you say that and go, all right, so right now he is actually, due to sovereign citizens and their rights to, public land and things like that, if he's 5 feet from the sidewalk on your property line, I think that, I think that's technically still okay. I think there's nothing we can do about that. However, we can send a gentleman who will be able to help you out with a little bit of, he'll come with a blanket. He will be there with a mental health volume, like a big thing of diagnosing. Maybe we can throw this guy on some Ritalin and throw him in a institution. Does anybody else think that institutions need to come back? We need like big buildings where we can throw the crazy, and even if you're not crazy, even if like your spouse just has had enough of you and, you know, you got to go quiet for a while. If you're a particularly rowdy child who, you know, Sunday school is not fixing, yeah, I think that we just need good old big buildings where, like, you know what I mean? If you are a little bit on the weirder side of the society, we just send you to this big white building. You have a nice little room with a drain in the floor so they can hose you down, you know what I mean? That you don't take showers there, you know what I mean? It is just, they clean you off in the room and then they tell you, get back on the bed. I think that's what we need to bring back to some extent, because admittedly, the streets were cleaner when we took the people who made them filthy and threw them into big buildings.
Days after the governor met with the peacekeepers, one of the men he posed with, Kellen McMiller, was charged in a Louis Vuitton smash and grab robbery. Breaking news on the Mag Mile. Thieves broke into the Louis Vuitton store.
The Magnificent Mile. They literally backed a truck up into the Louis Vuitton store, and the guy standing, smiling, big black guy, standing and smiling, shaking the hand of J.B. Pritzker, getting a nice picture. He, you know, was involved in this smash and grab. Oh, how curious. Living up to the stereotypes. Not fun.
Robbery. Breaking news on the Mag Mile. Thieves broke into the Louis Vuitton store. Its windows smashed
I'm 1% Cameroon Congo, man. You're making all of us look bad.
in by a pickup truck. The thieves scatter in different directions.
I'm holding you down, so holla if you need something. That's what I used to say to the homies.
Into getaway vehicles. One of the getaway cars crashed, killing local resident Mark Carlo Arcetta on his way to work.
Oh shit, that's unfortunate. I thought that he was one of the people that was doing it. I was giggling because I thought that one of these smash and grabbers tipped over their car and crushed their skull. You know, these people, they're very much like, you know, the beginning of Juicy by, what's his name? The Notorious B.I.G. He says, this song goes out to the teachers and all the people living in the buildings above me who called the police on me when I was just trying to make some money to feed my daughter. You know, and all the people all the homies in the struggle saw good baby. It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine. Salt and Pepper and Heavy D up in the limousine. Ladies and gentlemen, I was giggling because I had assumed that this person who had crushed their skull, who, you know, maybe was trying to make some money to feed his daughter or whatever, I was giggling because anybody who's stupid enough to try to rob the Louis Vuitton store because they think they're going to find some bread to feed their daughter in there, I think they're worthy of a little bit of a chaotic end.
Miller was charged with murder, burglary, and nearly $700,000 worth of theft. At the time of his arrest, he had 4 active arrest warrants. When I saw this story, I had a simple question. How often are peacekeepers getting arrested? So I started digging, and I found 28 other arrests over the past 3 years involving people who identified themselves as peacekeepers, were violence interrupters, or were wearing peacekeeper vests.
Very, very fun. This will be in the description for any of you who want to get a little bit more out of this article. We got to cover the water quality, ladies and gentlemen. Minnesota, the Department of Health has issued its fish map for the year. And apparently we can't even eat the fish anymore, ladies and gentlemen.
The Minnesota Department of Health has issued their new fish guidelines. What that is the health of the fish and how eating that fish, the consumption of that fish, may affect you as an angler. Bottom line is the more fish and the larger fish that you may eat would have more effect. And we're talking about 2 elements here, mercury being one.
Lutheran fish fries, Catholic fish fries, whatever denomination of Christian you are, and you are Christian. The fish fries are not going to be baller because apparently this year we can't even eat the walleye. We can't eat the bass. What are we doing? How are we going to eat anything if we're just going to let 3M poison our rivers?
Of them in fish, and the other are PFAS. Generally speaking, there are some specifics here. So we have 2 areas, northeast Minnesota and the Vermilion River area. But what they found in this latest review is that mercury and PFAS still remain a problem in some of our waterways here in Minnesota. And these are some of the counties, Cook, Lake, and St. Louis counties. Fish.
So fucking right up there, Duluth and Northeast. That entire chunk, some areas down by the city. You can't eat the fish. You cannot eat the fish that you find in the wild. Where are we at, ladies and gentlemen?
And some of those water bodies in northeast Minnesota have generally higher mercury concentrations than fish in other parts of the state.
Damn.
Now, these do apply statewide, though, and again, it's because of the amount of fish someone might eat or the age of the person who might be eating that fish. And PFAS were found in fish statewide, too, so that's important to note. We're talking about 15...
Minnesota fishermen are my favorite types of guys because they're the types that'll wear a t-shirt but still tuck it into their jeans. They're the types that will bring their grandchildren and their wife to a creek, you know what I mean? They got the grandkids for the day, so the wife, she'll take the grandkids down by the creek, she'll like teach them how to wash their feet in the river or something like that. This is a very particular, very specific memory for me as a child. But yeah, this is, honestly, I was the one at the river washing my feet with my grandma, and my sister was up with my grandpa, and they would he'd show her how to put shit on the hook and whatnot, and then she'd play with the leeches. I was always freaked out by them because I always hate animals where I can't see the eyes or the mouth, anything like that, but they just move. They bug me, they bother me. I feel like they're going to kill me if they touch my skin. But for some reason, my sister, she would just she'd play with them, she'd set them different places, she'd set them on the ground, see which one could make it to a certain point faster and shit, and I'd be like, don't touch that shit. But she always had the best time with it. She's still a better fisherman than I could ever hope to be. But ladies and gentlemen, I love Minnesota fishermen, and if you know one, warn them. If they just fish for fun, let them know, because even still, you know, if you just touch the fish, the mercury, it'll get in your hands or something.
People 15 and older and 15 and younger, because the guidelines are different for those age groups. 15
What?
and younger, they worry about how certain chemicals affect the brain and the development of the child.
Ah.
In people older than that, it affects them in different ways. So make sure you look at that if you're concerned about it. In general, it is still healthy to eat fish in Minnesota. But if you're an avid outdoors person and you want to make sure that you are eating smaller fish if you're consuming it a lot, and that you know exactly where those fish are coming from. Again, go to MDH's website. It has all the specifics for you right there. You'll have all the information you need. Good fishing.
Good fishing, ladies and gentlemen. When does fishing season open? When is fishing season in Minnesota? Minnesota fishing season generally opens mid-May for major game fish like walleyes, northern pike, and bass, running through late February. Really? Wait, so it's all year round, but then they shut it down for... Okay, key 2026 updates include the new year-round catch and release season for largemouth, smallmouth bass. So there's a year-round you can catch and release them, but it's like... Okay, so I understand. Fishing season only regulates the time when you can catch and eat them. What does fishing season regulate? Because I never learned any of this shit. I need to actually know what this means. Because fishing season regulations manage fish populations and habitat health by setting a specific legally binding rule on when, date and time, where, locations, and how gear/methods fish can be caught. They also dictate what can be kept through size restrictions and bag limits designated to protect spawning and ensure sustainable habitat fishing zones. Very, very curious. I didn't know any of that. A second Saturday in April, stream trout opener, and various specific inland and lake regulations. I didn't know that it was a year-round thing for some fish. I didn't know that they delineated it different by fish. I didn't know any of this, ladies and gentlemen. It's very curious, and I'm happy to learn it with you. Let's talk about how OpenAI is shutting down the video creation app Sora. I am going to miss this app because I'm pretty sure it was used to create my sister put this to funny fucking use. She sends in the family group chat a video and she goes, "What's going on here?" or some shit. And it's a Sora AI video of my mom taking a thing of eggs at the store, and it's like security cam footage or something like that, and putting it in her jacket and walking away. And I remember I just laughed so hard because I was like, oh, that just looks so funny, because my mom would never do anything like that. So I love AI about that. I love AI making my mom look like Winona Ryder. And then she sent one of me robbing or getting arrested. She sent one of my stepdad getting arrested, one of my fiance getting arrested, one of her getting arrested. She had a great time with it. I'm gonna miss video creation apps like this. Admittedly, admittedly, it is nerve-wracking when you think about how you can make a fake video of somebody robbing a store and then applicate that, give it to a police, whatever, and then maybe there's a chance that they'll even be held until they eventually figure out that the video is AI. Whatever you want to say, it is just it's going to be a sad loss, because I will miss getting those videos. I will miss getting those fun random videos, and my sister will be like, "What's happening here?" And it's me at some trailer park in like a blue shirt, getting my hands put behind my back by the police. And she's like, "What's this?" I love it. It's so funny. Anyway, OpenAI is shutting down video creation app Sora.
OpenAI, the company announcing it's shutting down Sora, the AI video making app that went viral. It's all in an effort to shift focus to coding and other business tools. According to Variety, Disney is dropping its $1 billion investment in the app. The official Sora account also posting a video of an AI-generated crab saying, "Goodbye and thanks for the memories." Wow. A surprise.
Goodbye and thanks for the memories. He sounds really actually sad about this, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe he is. Maybe he is. Let's talk about how flock safety is an Orwellian mass surveillance program that is using artificial intelligence for automatic license plate readers connected to a nationwide database. So if you thought that you were traveling safe, you thought it was okay to rip the cart when you're passing over a state line, it's actually not, because you're getting your photo snapped every single time. That's something you should be nervous about. They're gonna charge you with other crimes.
Should the images captured by 80,000 cameras surveilling Americans 24/7 be available to the public? That is a flock safety camera. I covered this Orwellian program for Reason last year, and a lot has changed. Flock's automatic license plate readers use artificial intelligence to gather data on every passing vehicle, from damage and decals to license plates and bumper stickers. Cameras snap 6 to 12 photos per car, and they even capture who's driving. Then all those photos get uploaded into a giant shared database, which can be accessed by law enforcement and government agencies.
How
because
nice.
Flock says when everyone contributes, cases get solved. They're stored for 30 days and then get deleted. And the cameras aren't cheap. In Washington State, Spokane Valley spent $500,000 on 26 cameras. Stanwood paid $92 grand for 14 cameras covering 3 square miles. Ooh. And Yakima, which has a large
Yakima mentioned. If you're an iCarly fan, you know what that's all about, man. I ain't moving to Yakima, dude. It sounds sick.
population used $600,000 in funds from the American Rescue Plan Act to purchase theirs. Flock previously said the cameras are prohibited for immigration enforcement where it's against state or local law. But
that was a lie.
Today they have cameras in 6,000 communities across 49 states, and Flock cameras read 20 billion plates per month. So it's no surprise people like Jose Rodriguez started to take notice. He saw them pop up in Walla Walla, where he worked, did some research, and couldn't believe all the data gathered.
Imagine having to work somewhere sounding as silly as Walla Walla. That sounds like, is it Fonzie? I wasn't as big of a Muppet kid. Waka Waka? Yes, that's what he says. I'm retarded. We'll figure it out.
He described it as being watched by a bunch of prison guards. So because not all heroes wear capes, he filed public records requests wanting Flock photos and data from 50 public agencies across the state. Public records are any media or communication from a government agency that involves government business. But there are some exceptions for intelligence information. Now, most agencies complied with the request, but the 10 cities who didn't, Rodriguez sued, wanting $100 per day per record. Flock responded by calling the lawsuit a bogus way to make money and advocated for a legislative fix to Washington's Public Records Act. Gee, I wonder why. While all this was happening, cities like Redmond, Linwood, and Mount Lake Terrace turned off their Flock cameras. Then Stanwood and Cedro Woolley, two holdouts, filed a motion to exempt Flock footage from the Public Records Act. They tried several different arguments, and according to their attorney, releasing the images would violate people's privacy. And isn't it ironic? But a Skagit County Superior Court judge disagreed. Because the footage is used by law enforcement agencies, it can be requested by anyone. Now agencies must store all Flock data before it's deleted. And in response to the ruling, one county turned off all their Flock cameras, calling it a threat to public safety. So, what the Flock does this mean for the future of mass surveillance?
I don't know. I love your puns. You're a fun lady. If you want to see any more from her, she's in the description, as per the usual. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the homelessness problem for our final story. LA, they're apparently having homeless people sleeping in storm drains now. I guess, you know what I mean? It's fun. It's actually pretty nice. I will say, having homeless people as your neighbors is starting to look pretty good. I have some neighbors they're giving me guff. Not in the sense where they're giving me the guff. They're giving the neighborhood guff, and as a result, it becomes my guff. I get it. I'm a renter. I have no right to tell you how to live your life, because I'm not meaningfully invested in this community, and as a result, I shouldn't be telling anybody how to live their lives. But when I got a look at my neighbor's balcony, and there is trash piled up like we are living in Mumbai, or like we are living in Thailand, and I have to look at my neighbor's balcony, and there's juice from the bags of garbage dripping down onto someone else's property below them. It's filthy to me. And quite frankly, I'd rather have a homeless person outside of my building again, to where it's like, at least they say good morning every morning. At least they say good morning. You know, sometimes if you brought something down from breakfast, you can give them some toast or something, and you're like, hey, you gonna go find a job or something soon? And then they're just like, they fall back to sleep or whatever, and then you just go about your day. Well, LA residents, man, they're concerned, they're worried. Let's talk about the homelessness problem. Go. Oh, why are we so concerned about the homeless living in storm drains? I thought that's what they wanted to do, ladies and gentlemen. The homelessness crisis in Los Angeles and around the United States has reached a literal new low. Residents are reporting a growing number of people seeking shelter within the city's labyrinth of storm drains and sewers. Man. This week, a hazmat cleanup was launched in South LA after a woman was discovered living in a makeshift underground home equipped with furniture and belongings, while some neighbors expressed empathy for the underground dwellers. God, oh my fucking God. Escaping the surface level heat and encampment sweeps, others describe the situation as a slum layer forming beneath the city. Local officials have declared several of these sites hazardous, warning that that the aging infrastructure, much of it decades overdue for upgrades, poses a lethal risk to anyone, even during a sudden rain event. You know what I mean? Suddenly you'll be sleeping in your little canal zone. Maybe no water has run through it for a few years, whatever. On one night of a particularly strong flood, you're going to be laying in your little cot thing that you have, and you're going to think, what's the sound of that? It sounds like the walls are like rumbling or something like that. And then you're going to just hear woof, and water will tidal wave and wash away your little encampment. You're going to be like a rat. I love it. It's going to be like flushed away. Ladies and gentlemen, let's look at this clip from LA residents concerned all of a sudden that the homeless people, they have to become chuds. They are cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers. I love it. They are absolute chuds. We should refer to the homeless people as chuds.
Now, for growing concern today over how the city of Los Angeles is tackling homelessness.
What the fuck?
Are found to be living in cities.
There's some lady in a nice little head wrap climbing out of a sewer drain.
Storm drains near the 110 freeway. Good afternoon. This is the KTLA 5 News at 4. I'm Samantha Cortese.
And I'm John Finolio. Residents who live in South LA say they are frustrated and concerned about the conditions.
KTLA's Rachel Menitoff spoke with a group documenting the needs of those who live there. She joins us live from downtown LA with more. Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Sam. Hi, John. Good afternoon to you both. We also reached out to the city, the mayor's office, the local council member's office. We haven't yet heard back, but people in the area tell us conditions are so bad, even dangerous at times, and they're begging the city for a meaningful intervention.
I mean, these are human beings. You can't come and blame on them.
Juan Naula started Clean LA with me as a solo operation to improve Los Angeles streets and reach out to its ever-growing homeless population.
This has to get a fix a long term, not just a couple of weeks. Because I've seen so many places that the city come, clean, not even 2 hours. Same. Yeah, we'll give you some food.
He's been documenting his experience, showing the plight of people like this woman who's taken up residence inside a sewer off the 110 freeway in the Broadway Manchester neighborhood. It's a 10-foot space filled with trash, no running water, and is completely unsanitary. Clearly distressed with mental illness.
Oh, she's literally on the street corner. She's gripping her head. She's trying to keep the turban on. She's falling on her back. Yeah, this is someone that I think nature is just taking its course with. And unfortunately, it's an ugly scene, but, some people are not meant for the world, and the world is going to have its way with them. And it's having its way with this one lady, very evidently.
Clearly distressed and dealing with mental illness, she told us she doesn't know how she ended up here and would like safer, more permanent housing.
I love how we're interviewing her like she's like a common sense, decent thinker, and not like she should be in a jacket or like in a halfway house or like one of those homes where they keep the mentally ill.
Has the city ever come by and offered housing options?
No.
Neighbors say the encampments and RVs are a total hazard, that those living inside dump their trash, vandalize.
I love how she's got wigs. She's a black lady who still knows how to take care of her ends. She has wigs down in that sewer drain. Who is she dressing up for?
Cars use drugs and have cut through pretty much all of the metal wiring.
Put cameras out, put something to barricade them from coming in, house them. Or send them somewhere else where they don't have to be straggling on this part under the tunnel. It's very bad.
Do you need help? Nowla engaged a man who's been living in this stripped-down car for 2 months. And he was open to accepting the city's help.
You have reached the My LA 311 call center.
We tried calling 311 and were referred to the Department of Sanitation. It tells us there have been multiple calls for service at this location, and it typically takes up to 90 days for someone to respond. 2 city street sweepers came by, but their cleanup was merely superficial.
Anybody else in there?
Nowla says he did get an email from the sanitation department saying they planned to seal and secure the sewer, but clearly more needs to be done.
I cannot
Seal her in it. Maybe she'll like it if you just let her live in there forever.
So much. I'm just a guy. I'm just one person trying to fix these things. But the city has to jump in.
And the city has been to this location at least once before. We covered a city-led cleanup and tent removal in September of last year. The problem, as Juan describes it, is that people tend to return if there's no regular enforcement.
They're like the Jews. They have a right to return, ladies and gentlemen. Are you nervous about this? Are you nervous about this? Because guess what? It's not just hitting LA. It hits the average spots where you wouldn't expect anybody to be there. Ladies and gentlemen, if you live in a medium-sized city, Brainerd, if you live in St. Cloud, if you live in any of these that I'm listing off, Fargo, Moorhead, if you live in any of these regions, Valley News Live, they're covering the homelessness epidemic on its way to your front door. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get nervous. Together, let's have a reason to panic.
Thank you for joining us tonight at 9. I'm Sydney Zatz. Fargo's homeless situation has become a hot topic lately, and it's one we at Valley News Live have been following and researching for months. Valley News team's Ethan Kramer spoke to local law enforcement, city leaders, and advocates, and acquired never-before-seen body camera video of police interactions with the homeless. He shows us more about the problem and the search for solutions in this VNL investigation.
Yes. Valley News investigates. Nice shot of the Red River that you can't eat out of or swim in. Look at that homelessness encampment right on the edge. I love that. They batten it off. I've gone for walks in Gooseberry and Lindenwood. Both of them, Gooseberry is the Moorhead side, Lindenwood is the Fargo side. Lindenwood is in Clara Barton, this little neighborhood named after the American nurse. And essentially, it's not the same neighborhood, it's actually just a little north of Clara Barton, or northeast, whatever you want to call it. I'm trying to remember the exact map. But this place, I've walked through the forested areas, and there are cabins built. There's like little micro cabin. There's this one that is like built out of, like, what's it called? It is built out of sticks and logs and whatnot, and it's been there since I've moved to the region. It's been here since I've moved to the Fargo-Moorhead area. It has not been taken down. It has not been addressed once. It's never been covered in police tape. None of it.
Fargo, a city of around 130,000 people, a powerhouse football program, and a growing homeless problem.
A homeless man is facing charges accused of sexually assaulting a woman at a camp near the Red River.
The homeless crisis appears to be only getting worse.
Fargo city leaders continued their conversation about solving the homelessness problem.
I got a solution. Let's quit this global warming shit. This homelessness problem was not nearly as bad when we were able to freeze them out every single year. Freeze them out. Freeze them out. Literally freeze them. Do not allow them via the environment. That was what originally protected us in Minneapolis. It's what originally protected us in Fargo. is because we got so damn cold that nobody could handle it. We have to chill the air again. We have to get that stuff they pump into the air with Snowpiercer to make the environment completely cold. We got to do that. Freeze them out.
Homelessness has been a hot topic for a while in the Fargo area. On September 3rd, Fargo City Commission approved an ordinance that made it illegal to camp on public property.
Good.
Call vote, please.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Kolpak. Aye. Turnberg.
Aye.
Strand.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Camping is no longer permitted in the city of Fargo.
Woo!
Land.
And then on September 18th is when the ordinance went into effect.
Fargo Police. Fargo Police Department.
And then they all migrated over to the Moorhead side. Unfortunately, all of these campers that you were hiding out in the woods, they look at this. I put this in the description if you want to get a glance at it. It's literally cardboard. It's string. It's all being held together in these forested areas where people walk. People bring their kids. People bring this is a very common bike trail. This is somewhere that the public should be able to come and enjoy. When rather, we get to come here and we get an exhibitation of a lot of misery. I hope that it floods out soon. You know, that river area, actually, the water levels rise very frequently. I'm hoping that's just able to, great flood these fuckers out of here.
Police Department, anyone here?
In this body cam footage released to Valley News Live shows...
Oh, that's a north side. That is definitely up on the north side of the Red River.
Officers going throughout the area telling encampments they need to move.
You guys are familiar with the camping ordinance and everything? That just went into effect. No camping underneath critical infrastructure. So if you guys are here in violation, you could be arrested. So just letting you know, okay? There's a new ordinance in Fargo that prohibits camping on public property. The ordinance prohibits camping anywhere on any public property in the entire city of Fargo. So, Fargo Police, can you wake up?
Fargo Police, can you wake up? Some guy sleeping in what looks like a bus stop. I love his little Navajo blanket.
Right now. No camping here.
How you expect me to live if you kick me out from here and engagement and got rid and kick me out? So where do I have to go?
The engagement center.
An apartment, kick me out. Where you want me to go?
Yep, that's our expectation. Engagement center, harm reduction, to find a new place.
Harm reduction or an engagement center, community engagement center.
As expected, not every interaction was going to go perfect. Brenda Derrick and Chandler Esslinger from the city have tackled the homeless problem head on.
Pretty much weekly, we have done some sort of...
Brenda Derrick, I believe, is the same woman who is running for mayor right now against Tim Mahoney. I believe that I think so. I think that she announced her candidacy. If she does run for mayor and she's this woman who is on the forefront of trying to tackle the homelessness crisis, vote her in. Vote her in. She sounds like a bright lady with a good head on her shoulders.
And then done a relocation with some campers and then also a cleanup.
We know all of the individuals who are currently living outside and trying to work with them on getting connected to housing. And actually, we've been able to successfully house several folks who had been living along the river already since the ordinance was implemented.
That's so nice.
Once the ordinance and resolution went into place, many thought the homeless problem would just disappear. But that wasn't the case.
Nope.
Because where would the people go? What the ordinance did was make camping illegal on public property. But there is also a resolution that may get forgotten.
Is a no camping ordinance on public property. In addition to a no camping ordinance, there is a resolution that talks about enforcement areas. And so part of that was to look at enforcement areas. And so within 100 feet of the bridge, structure was one of the enforcement areas. Within 30 feet of the trail.
Throughout the area, all shelters are currently full. Esslinger believes that's playing a big part.
Part of the reason we have this issue with folks having to sleep outside is because all of the shelters in our area are currently full. Part of this ordinance and resolution implementation was to set some standards and expectations for what we're allowing in terms of the camps.
A person who has been very outspoken about the homeless problem in the city of Fargo is Fargo City Commissioner Michelle Turnberg. She says she has never seen this many homeless people in the area.
I've never seen it this populated before. You know, prior to that, I don't remember ever seeing these many camps set up in town.
It's not your right as a paying citizen to feel safe when you walk in a park, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know why I have to tell Americans this. You pay your taxes, you show up to work every day, you do your best to be a good citizen, but you and your kids, you don't deserve that public property. That park belongs to the good junkies that are going to turn it into a nice little area where they're going to sell some bracelets so that they can go buy another little fireball. Ladies and gentlemen, I love the homeless people of Fargo. I love them. They're my brothers and sisters, be they of any race, cut, or creed. And I'm hoping that the people of the Fargo-Moorhead area are able to handle it. You know what I mean? This ordinance went into effect last year, and admittedly, they've just moved around. You know what I mean? The homelessness, it's just moved around. You know, she was talking about the centered areas, the bridge, all the little zones, and it's like, yeah, you chased them out of the most visible areas. Now they're just hiding in sewer drains, much like the LA folks. Anyways, I had a wonderful time. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode as much as I had a fun time putting them together. It was fun getting all these stories in a nice little collection for you. A nice charcuterie board. I will be here tomorrow with another fresh charcuterie board. Salamis, prosciutto, maybe some specialty cheeses or something along those lines. I don't know. I'll devise something for you tomorrow, but if you would like to be there for it, subscribe if you'd like more, ring the bell for notifications like if you liked it. But in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for listening. This has been Ollie Vogt Larson with your Brain on Air. I will catch you in Thursday and Friday's broadcast. In the meantime, bye-bye.